Another amazing fight has been made by the UFC. Islam Makhachev versus Rafael dos Anjos has now been added to the main card of UFC 267 in October, and that pay-per-view is for free. Blachowicz versus Teixeira. No one has to pay for that pay-per-view card, so we get to watch Islam Makhachev versus Rafael dos Anjos on the main card of a pay-per-view for absolutely no cost. Now, I know, if you have a bit of a brain, every pay-per-view is free, you know what I'm saying? But for this one, even the dummies don't have to pay for it. So, Islam Makhachev, Rafael dos Anjos, amazing matchup. I thought I was done reacting to amazing fight announcements after yesterday's video where I made a reaction to Paulo Costa versus Marvin Vettori and also Kai Kara France versus Cody Garbrandt. Those were amazing, amazing fight announcements. And once both of those were released at once, I thought to myself, there's no way, at least for the next couple of days, there's going to be any other amazing fight announcements. But no, Islam Makhachev is right back in action against Rafael dos Anjos. Finally, Islam Makhachev will be taking on a top 10 contender. I know he's actually currently ranked above Rafael dos Anjos in the lightweight division. This will be number 5, Islam Makhachev versus number 7. I know that sounds weird because Islam Makhachev was looking to jump up to take on Rafael dos Anjos for a very long time. But after beating number 14, Islam Makhachev moved from number 9 to number 5 in the division. He's still getting his top 10 opponent in Rafael dos Anjos. But again, this is another step back for Islam Makhachev. I was very, very certain that maybe they would make the Beneil Dariush matchup, because now this leaves Beneil Dariush in a little bit of a weird situation where there's literally no one for him to fight. I would assume that Beneil Dariush is probably going to just wait it out, or maybe, just maybe, fill in on short notice or be the short notice replacement for Oliveira versus Poirier. He's a top contender. He has some good wins. He beat the same guy that Charles Oliveira beat to get his title shot in Tony Ferguson. So Beneil Dariush, in my opinion, should definitely look to be the short notice replacement for the main event of Dustin Poirier versus Charles Oliveira, which I believe might be happening around December time. We'll see how that one goes. But Islam Makhachev versus Rafael dos Anjos, amazing matchup. And before I even get into anything else, round of applause for Rafael dos Anjos. I mean, Rafael dos Anjos, just every tough matchup there possibly could be. Like, his best gimme matchup was Paul Felder, and that's only because it was on short notice as well. Before that, let's not forget, he signed a fight with Islam Makhachev before, so I did actually kind of see Rafael dos Anjos as a potential guy that could be taking on Makhachev next, especially now that Makhachev is up the rankings and RDA has actually something to gain from beating Islam Makhachev. I mean, RDA had nothing to gain from Makhachev before when he first signed a fight with him when moving back down to the lightweight division, and he still did it anyway. Rafael dos Anjos gives zero shits, very literally. He does not care about the opponent. He is just in there to fight whoever it is. And I feel like that's just because over the years, Rafael dos Anjos has kind of like developed this like non-pussy evolutionary thing. I have no idea what's going on. I think once you step in there against Usman, Covington, Leon Edwards, Khabib, all of these amazing opponents that RDA's been in a cage with, you start to like, fuck yeah, I'll take on Islam Makhachev. I fought Usman. You know what I mean? So it becomes a little bit less cool for RDA, but it's still cool to me that Rafael dos Anjos does take on these tough matchups. Islam Makhachev, Rafael dos Anjos, great fight to make. It's only a 3-rounder. I would have very, very much enjoyed it if it was a 5-rounder. I would just love it to be a 5-rounder. I think that would really test Islam Makhachev, and I think that would give RDA his biggest chance to maybe go out there, stuff a couple of takedowns early, and then start to work Islam Makhachev maybe in the cardio department in the later rounds of the fight. But in a 3-rounder, this gives Islam Makhachev a huge favour over Rafael dos Anjos, because he doesn't really have to be too careful about how much energy he uses in order to get takedowns, because he's only got 3 rounds. We see this with Michael Chiesa. He goes from having his performance against Rafael dos Anjos himself in the welterweight division to having his performance against Neil Magny over 5 rounds. In a grappling match, 5-rounders get a little bit sloppy because they get so sloppy in the later rounds. I mean, Thiago Moises is a great jiu-jitsu guy, but even he's given up his neck to Islam Makhachev in round 4 because that's just how exhausted he is. In a 3-rounder, the pace is going to be a little bit higher, but also it gives the grappler a big benefit here, especially when it's like a chance that RDA could bounce back in the later rounds. So I understand understand why they booked it for 3 rounds. I wish we were seeing a 5-rounder here, because I might have entertained the idea of a Rafael dos Anjos upset in a 5-rounder, but in a 3-rounder, I feel like Makhachev's going to get his hands on a 29-28 unanimous decision over Rafael dos Anjos, but RDA has a legit chance of upsetting Islam Makhachev here. He is a dangerous guy for all of these people in the lightweight division. Now, I know RDA moved down to the lightweight division. You would usually assume that that means he's going to be taking on smaller opponents. However, Islam Makhachev, in my opinion, even though RDA is the welterweight moving back down to the lightweight division, Islam Makhachev is going to be way bigger than RDA in there. Massively bigger than Rafael dos Anjos. He is a huge guy for the lightweight division. I know Dagestani fans are going to hate me for pointing that out. I point it out with Corey Sandhagen. I point it out with everyone. I point it out with Davison Figueiredo. I'm just pointing it out with Islam Makhachev. He is a fucking huge guy for that division. And when you're a huge guy for a division and you use grappling to win, you're not really going to suffer the effects of a drained weight cut where you usually would if you were a striker. Because if Islam Makhachev was on the feet trading big shots back and forth with someone, maybe a big weight cut could come into play. But the fact that he's a grappler and he uses his size to just lay on his opponents and take a positional advantage and just slowly wear on them as the fight goes on and try and get a finish, try and get a submission as the rounds go on, I feel like Islam Makhachev's got a real good chance of winning this one, and I think he will win this one by 29-28 unanimous decision. Rafael dos Anjos has a solid chance to upset this. He really does, because I'll tell you this, I was not too impressed by Islam Makhachev's performance against Thiago Moises, because I know for a fact that Thiago Moises is fucking Thiago Moises, who lost to Bobby Green, who should be 3-4 in the UFC, and who shouldn't even be ranked in the top 25, let's be real. If he did lose that fight to Bobby Green, he'd right now be ranked at number 30, and we watched him lose that fight to Bobby Green now. He was a good enough win to get Islam Makhachev ranked number 5 in the lightweight division, of course, but not enough to get Damir Ismagulov ranked at all, even though Damir Ismagulov beat Thiago Moises as well. I don't see Islam Makhachev getting a finish here over RDA. I'd see a decision win. I don't think 3 rounds is enough to really... I feel like he's just not going to be able to submit RDA. RDA is so hard to submit. I don't think he's ever been submitted in his entire career, if I'm just panically going through my head right now. I don't think I've ever seen RDA submitted ever in his entire career, and I wouldn't see it happening in a 3-rounder against Islam Makhachev. So, if Islam Makhachev does submit Rafael dos Anjos, that's a very big feather in his cap. That's going to be a great win moving forward. This one, in my opinion, doesn't get Islam Makhachev a title shot in the lightweight division. I think this is going to take one more after this one, because don't get me wrong, Rafael dos Anjos is good, but beating number 14 and number 7 and then getting your title shot in the lightweight division, this is the lightweight division. The winner of Gaethje versus Chandler is going to be in a much better position to argue for a title shot than the winner of Islam Makhachev versus Rafael dos Anjos. But we'll see how things go, man. Islam Makhachev, good on the feet. I think he can do some work there. But if I was Rafael dos Anjos, you know what I'm doing? I'm risking being KO'd. I'm putting my chin down, and I'm going for Makhachev's body from the very get-go. Because what Makhachev does, and he can be pushed up against the cage, man, I would actually pick RDA in a 5-rounder, and I'd pick him to win 3-2 on rounds. But it's a 3-rounder. Fuck, that annoys me. I wish this was a main event, man. Fuck's sake. In a 3-rounder, I think Makhachev can get the first 2 rounds. But Makhachev against Thiago Moises, and this is where I said I wasn't that impressed by it, he didn't do crazily good in the first 3 rounds. Like, it took until the 4th round where Thiago Moises was really gassed out in order for Islam Makhachev to really implement any sort of game whatsoever on him. I mean, don't get me wrong, he had some moments in the early rounds where he had success against Thiago Moises. He even almost submitted Moises at the end of one of the rounds. Even still, it wasn't like a dominant performance throughout the first 3 rounds of his fight with Thiago Moises. In the first round, he kept landing knees over and over again to the body of Thiago Moises, and Moises was just kind of okay to push Islam Makhachev against the cage. He even ended up getting a takedown on Islam Makhachev, one of 2 takedowns that he attempted. He managed to secure and score against Islam Makhachev, also earning himself 3 minutes and 24 of control time over Islam Makhachev. Makhachev got 3 out of 6 takedowns when he went for them, but usually it was him responding to Thiago Moises. Even when Moises got him down, he reversed the position, he jumped on the back of Moises, had some moments there to try try and reverse. He has one reversal there. I really like Islam Makhachev's style. I think he's got a good grappling game. Very slow, very patient, but he ends up getting it done. He's kind of like Michael Chiesa, in all honesty, compared to like a Khabib. Khabib is more like a ground and pound heavy grappler. He'll go for submissions in the early rounds. Like, in my opinion, Khabib Nurmagomedov would submit Thiago Moises in round 1. It takes Makhachev until round 4. That's just a difference of styles that they have. Islam Makhachev's got really good knees in the clinch, but if I was Rafael dos Anjos, I'd be trying to push Makhachev against the cage and try and wear him out there, and try and go for some hooks to the body or something like that, because Islam Makhachev stands really tall against the cage because he has such good trust in his balance and takedown defense. If I was RDA, I'm pushing Islam Makhachev up against the cage, I'm breaking, and I'm winging hooks to the body, trying to gas out Islam Makhachev, trying to make Islam Makhachev shoot desperate and panicked takedowns that I can easily stuff. I don't think he's going to be able to stop Makhachev taking him down, but again, man, fuck, this is actually a close fight, even in a 3-rounder. Because Makhachev doesn't do much damage. And damage wins fights. Unless you're Corey Sandhagen, maybe. But damage wins fights. And if RDA just gets held down a little bit, but he makes sure to throw a couple of total strikes here and there and work his way back up to his feet, and then Makhachev's just in on his hips, and RDA's landing a couple of elbows to the head of Makhachev, a couple of punches to the body, man, I could see an upset here, but I'm going to assume that Islam Makhachev is big and strong enough to wear out RDA in at least the first 2 rounds of this bout. I'm so looking forward to this one now that I'm looking at it, man. I wish it was a 5-rounder, because I would pick RDA. I think eventually in this fight, RDA is going to be able to win the war of attrition, and Islam Makhachev's not going to get entirely what he wants from the grappling realm of the fight, and I think RDA, being the smart guy that he is, would work the body, work the legs, try and get things into the later rounds, and try and work things there. It'll be very interesting to see, because Rafael dos Anjos has done decently okay against other grapplers in other divisions, like the welterweight division against Kamaru Usman, Colby Covington. So, if Islam Makhachev finishes RDA inside 3 rounds, he would really put himself in a different sort of position than any other grappler that's taken on RDA. Now, of course, this is RDA in the latest point of his career than any of the other guys that have taken him on, so it's kind of unfair to say this is the best version of Rafael dos Anjos that we're going to see. But we'll see how it goes down, man. If Rafael dos Anjos wins this one, he's 1 fight away from a title shot. If Islam Makhachev wins this one, he's also 1 fight away from a title shot. Or maybe they just give it to him if he does get a big finish and no one else really has any other fights. And maybe Gaethje versus Chandler ends in a draw or something like that. Or Michael Chandler wins and Oliveira beats Dustin Poirier. And they want to make Oliveira versus Islam Makhachev rather than a rematch with Michael Chandler. That would make sense. This is a great fight though, man. In a 5-rounder, I'd pick RDA. But in a 3-rounder, man, I think you got to go with Makhachev just purely based on the size. Even though maybe in technical skill, RDA might be able to keep up with him and stuff some of those takedowns like Thiago Moises did, like Arman Tsarukyan did as a baby, essentially in his fight career anyway. Arman Tsarukyan came into the UFC, took on Islam Makhachev, and let me tell you this. Official scorecard-wise, and we'll go through this with Islam Makhachev as well, according to today's scoring, Islam Makhachev would have lost to Arman Tsarukyan. Just saying. I'm just saying that, okay? He got outstruck on significant strikes in the last round and the second round, and he got outdone on total strikes as well. Even though he had control time and had more takedowns, Arman Tsarukyan was the one landing the little shots in there. So maybe if Arman Tsarukyan landed 1 more significant strike in 2 of those rounds, he could have maybe stolen it from Islam Makhachev. It was a very, very close fight. Islam Makhachev, of course, won the fight. Somehow 30-27 on some judges' scorecards. But it was a great scrap. And Arman Tsarukyan is very, very good. And he'll, in my opinion, become a champion one day in the UFC. We'll see how things go. I know he's now talking about a fight with Dan Hooker, which is interesting. But Rafael dos Anjos, Islam Makhachev. Great matchup. I'm going to go with Islam Makhachev. He's just too big. Sorry. I know RDA's moving down from welterweight, but Makhachev's just way bigger than the rest of these guys. And he's just like a wet blanket on top of these people. He's like Michael Chiesa if he had a bit of a gas tank and heart, in all honesty. He's Chiesa at lightweight with gas tank and a heart. And no one's talking about his mum. That's the only difference I see here. But Makhachev's very good. Looking forward to this matchup. It's not the big fight that he maybe wanted. I really think he was looking at that Beneil Dariush bout because that would immediately get him a title shot. But we'll see how this one goes, man. That card is looking really good right now. Jan Blachowicz, Glover Teixeira main event. Aljamain Sterling versus Piotr Jan 2 in the co-main event. Islam Makhachev versus Rafael dos Anjos in the feature fight. I've got Walt Harris versus Taito Ivasa in the 4th fight down the list. And then you've got Li Jingliang versus Khamzat Chimaev. I mean, it just makes all the sense in the world. You're going to capitalize on the fan bases there. Maybe a little backstage altercation between Islam Makhachev and Khamzat Chimaev. Imagine down the line, Islam Makhachev becomes the lightweight world champion. Khamzat Chimaev becomes the welterweight world champion. Then you have Makhachev versus Chimaev. That would be an amazing situation because Chimaev, of course, has beef with Team Khabib a little bit, of course. A little bit of a difference in opinion between those two teams. Really looking forward to this, but I'm going to go with Islam Makhachev. 2 rounds to 1. Definitely good enough to beat RDA in my opinion. And plus, RDA against the cage, I don't think he's going to be able to get takedowns on Islam Makhachev, which is an option that he's not going to have out there. But I do maybe see him having some success on the feet, man. I might pick him. But right now I'm saying Islam Makhachev. But man, RDA is good. And he's decent. And I think decent might be able to beat Makhachev if you can stuff takedowns. And RDA can. But is he just too small? That's the big question. He's going to have a 10-pound difference compared to him and Islam Makhachev, maybe. That's a big deal. So we'll see how it goes down. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Click that button up there. Toodle pip. I'll see you later. Goodbye. Great matchup. Let's get some more because I need all the content I can fucking get right now. So any other matchups that want to get made, fucking go ahead and make them. I'm loving it. See you later.